Nice to see you. I'm Shingo Hisakawa from Tokyo Hackerspace. I'm running a small company with my wife, two members. Named Birdman Inc. Because I made a Birdman aircraft when I was in university. Yeah. So I'm not a professional about the biotechnology nor electricity. I just majored physics and it's a bachelor degree. So I'm no specialist about anything. But I'm just a maker and making something. So let me tell about my biography first. Yes, in my university.
Inside of that?
Huh? Sorry?
Are you inside of that?
No, I'm too far to do it. Yeah, but I just made my aircraft and one of them running after it. But as a maker, it's very interesting to make aircraft. Just a bunch of wallpapers and some cheap materials become a aircraft. It starts fly. It's really impressive, and it decided my life after that. Yeah, you can see the pilots are some pedaling around. Yeah, so I just started as my career as a barman, and yeah. And after I graduated, I worked 6 years in software companies, and me and my wife are also programmers. So I'm really interested about software development. And for example, this is one of my software hacks, Kinect Boobs. It shows boobs of the Kinect images, but it's a bit difficult technologies I use. For example, there's a physical simulation as you see it, and we pick up the texture of the chest and paste it over the surface. And yeah, I want to skip it, and we added a collision detection. It's really hard to do it, but my wife, exactly, this is my wife's hack, and she wrote it in 3 days. Wow, yeah, so we can touch each other. Yeah, so, but for me, Birdman, it's
really you touching
yeah, touching. But as my Birdman, I'm not satisfied with software development. So, for example, this is also my software hacks, which shows where you can see the space station next time using the augmented reality, the virtual line over the sky, and it predicts exact the places where you can see space station. It's really, really bright. Brighter than any stars, so it's really easy to find it. Yeah, but yeah, after that I'm starting to making some hardware gadgets using Arduino itself, for example. So I know where the space station is flying, so I connected Android and the cloud server to calculate where the space station is, and the Arduino itself is really simple, just 2 servos to rotate and point out anywhere in the sky. The laser module is inside the water pipes moving in these movies. And what happened? Yeah, covering up and painting, yeah. It's turning around automatically and point out where the space station using the laser beam like this. It's really romantic. But I'm still a hardware user, Arduino user. I think it's not the perfect maker, making something. So after that, I start to make my own PCBs. For example, this is a Japanese old rice measure used just after World War II. And I added 2 Nixie tubes to make a kitchen timer, very simple. And they're using the free software to design the schematics, and I just push the auto root button, so it's really easy. It's my first time to make my own PCBs, and yeah, I found it's really interesting to make my own board, and I start selling my own hardwares. This is Arduino itself, but it has a USB host IC. It's also on the board. It can communicate with Android phone, and so you can, even the Android programmer can easily open the door to make the Arduino hacks. It's really easy. I have some crazy movies a lot, but yeah, I have to finish the introduction at first. Yes, I have my pick and press. This is my room, and this I have my own pick and press machine. So I'm designing, manufacturing, selling every hardware, softwares from my home. This is my home. Yeah, but I met Dennis to Singapore because I just went to Malaysia after selling my own PCR machines. Yeah, this one. After selling it to the National Science Center Kuala Lumpur, I sold 10 pieces of this. This is my PCR machine. It means a DNA amplifier. So let me explain what the PCR is. PCR is a polymerase chain reaction. I'm not so sure about it, but it's really, really simple, but it's really important technology for every DNA experiments. It's Nobel Prize on the 93, and yeah. Let me explain the picture on the right side. Usually DNA is made by twisted pair, two strings, and it will be easily separated when we heat it at the 90 degrees. And you adding some enzymes into these small tubes inside it, like this. It makes the opposite pair. We have to keep about 50 degrees or something. It's best degree temperature for enzymes. And after making the opposite one, green line, we heat it up again, and it separates. And look, we have 4 strings, 1, 2, 3, 4, and keeping 50 degrees again to make them opposites. So and heating again, we have 8. So I mean, after heating and cooling, we call it as a cycle. So after one cycle, it doubles the count of the DNA parts we want to make experiments. It's doubled. After 30 or 40 cycles, what happened? It becomes 1,000,000 times, and it's really enough for make many experiments. For example, is it a new species or is it a man or male? So many, yeah. But so I mean, it's really, really necessary for every DNA works, but. And it's really simple, just for heating, cooling. So I use only Peltier, often used as a computer. It's really simple, and the patent is expired, so there's no additional fees. But I think you, including me, have never had the experience about making experiments in junior high or high school about DNA, because it was too expensive for schools to buy the PCR machines. It's at least $4,000. But there was a nice project in Kickstarter 2010. It's all success. American guys made it at $600, and it made the open sourced. It's very simple. It's very similar to it. It uses Arduino inside and adding a shield, but unfortunately it was a personal project and it's not almost not in production now, and I found some points to update to make for many people make it easier. For example, so I changed it. It's really interesting to change something. For example, I changed it bigger first to support the usual heat sinks and power supplies. I can make it bigger so that I can use the usual ATX power supplies. And so yes, it becomes bigger. Yeah, and change to, for example, maybe he is a rich man, and he made a metal part using drills. So look, the left one, green pointed, is very thick. It has to be made using the drills, the CNCs, and it takes hours, and it's very expensive. But I changed it more to thinner ones, just can be made by bending. It's very easy and cheap. And the red line shows there's many parts of the block to support the upper parts. But I changed it to just by bending like this. Then I decreased the number of the parts count. Then I can make almost all parts about $20 or $30. Yeah, after that it becomes thinner. And I changed its firmware from, I have to explain a little. the original OpenPCR killed the Arduino firmware because they use the Adobe Air platform so that they can because it can communicate with USB master edges. So they overwrite the Arduino firmware with USB master edges firmware. So it cannot be reused as of Arduino after experiments. I think it's really problem about it. So this is also my wife changed it from Adobe Air platform to Chrome app released in this year by Google. And I added some features to the application. For example, I added the graph red pointed. It's really important for experiments. Yeah. And changing another one. So for example, this is a sealed semantics and layout. And left is before. The motor driver IC, there's a picture on the bottom, soldered on the surface of PCB itself. But I changed it so that the usual modules can be used so that we can reuse it. It's really powerful motors ICs, so it's really important for me to let it reusable. So, I mean, why I did it? For example, the 2010, there's an OpenPCR project, and 2030, I changed it a little, and I made it Arduino and motor IC reusable for another purposes. It's my purposes to make changes. So that many persons, you or someone else in the world may change it more. So that making, for example, the cleaning water robots using my Arduinos and motor per ICs modules, and many, for example, it becomes so cheap. The purchase price is finally about $300, and it will be placed in every high school and junior high schools. I hope I want to sell them to the high school, especially junior high and high school students, to do their own DNA experiments, not only reading textbooks. And such as schools sometimes become a hospital when the disaster like the earthquake happened in Tokyo, not in Japan. So someone may make robots for such disasters. Yeah, that's my hope. Thanks. Okay, then. Yeah. That's almost done.
I do have a question about that last slide. So you want to connect the OpenPCR with robots, like make some movable OpenPCR, or that's just like something else? It's
yeah. Motor IC not only means movable PCRs, but we can remove the parts easily. For example, let me remove the. This is my PCRs, and after experiments, we can easily remove the motor drive ICs. Yeah, and it can be used for other purposes, not only related to PCRs. Arduino and motor drive, this is really powerful, so that you can make tanks or even some heavy, movable things. But I think it's not necessary to be related to PCR nor biotechnology. Arduino and power supply is really useful for many purposes. For example, such water cleaning robots or something. The original OpenPCR, as I said, overrated the firmware, so it cannot be reused.
So it will be basically like Transformers.
Yeah.
Turn into an OpenPCR and then into a tank. That's the scenario.
Yeah. No, I think it's because in the original design, they have to override the firmware. So once it is in use for PCR, it cannot be used for anything else.
Yeah.
So
that's
but he is kind of like unlock it in such a way that the Arduino or the motor IC can be reused in any applications, as it is.
Yeah, so this is not only the PCRs, but you can make anything using its Arduinos and the ICs. Yeah, and this is a smaller version, I forgot to mention. And I also making some, not only amplifying, but making some tools to build DNAs and electrophoresis machine. It's still prototyping. So I think even the high school students can make such DNA experiments.
What would be the price for your
Whole
these
kit?
two kits? Yeah.
This kit?
Yeah, or the smaller ones that you're.
Smaller one is almost the same because the adapter is itself costs is almost same, but the heatsink is more cheaper, and the smaller the wood is. I need a few woods, so I think it's about this 5 or less than 600. I promise. Yeah, but I think I need to find some steel factories or nice steel factories so that which can drill such a difficult metal parts. So I think I
So
can
that's
find.
the crucial and most expensive part. I mean, why
Yes.
the prices don't drop? Because 600 it was like a few years ago, and it's like still. I mean, it's still that price. What do you think is the issue? Like, what is the critical?
Critical point is I think it's only one now, only two. There's a heater in the upper world. It has to be made more cheaper, and this we call it well because we set the tubes inside have to be made precisely and really difficult. It cannot, of course, it cannot be made by just bending. So it's about $50 or something. It's very expensive compared to
What
that.
materials are made out of?
Sorry.
The well part to put the tubes. What material?
What material?
This is aluminum, but the special aluminum we have to high temperature transfer, so we have to specify which aluminum to be used.